Thanks a lot, John. IceTrack's a technology company. We provide systems for large transport fleets. All the supermarkets use our systems, and a large number of the manufacturers, food manufacturers and suppliers do, as well as people like Royal Mail. I'm speaking here from experience of working with quite a broad range of different companies in what they're doing to reduce their CO2 emissions and increase sustainability. Excuse me. I think John posed a very interesting question in his opening remarks about whether mobility is a right or not, and I really hope you stay around for the debate on that afterwards. I'm really looking forward to that. Whether it's a right or not, the way that we buy our goods from the shops, the way we buy our food, and the way we live our lives revolves around an existing infrastructure of transport. The area that we get involved in is clearly the delivery of the produce that we consume from the fields all the way through to whether we buy the goods in the shops or whether we have it delivered in the vans that come to our doors. Our role in that is to help improve the way that people, the way that those vehicles are managed and reduce the cost of running those vehicles, because the two are very well aligned. There are three initiatives that I want to talk about to just set the debates going later about what can be done and what should be done to reduce emissions and increase sustainability. The first one is around every mile that's travelled, can we travel those miles more efficiently with lower carbon? The second one comes from a statistic that David didn't mention, but is a well-known statistic in the industry, and that is every time you see a truck on the road that's involved in the food supply chain, one in four of the miles that it will be travelling empty. That's with absolutely nothing on board, just carrying fresh air around. So the second initiative that I'm going to talk about is how to increase that vehicle fill. And then the final one is how to help migrate from traditional fossil fuels to more renewable sources of energy. And those are the three areas of technology that our business is focused on and helping our customers to achieve. So talking about the first one, I think I've just got one slide which I'll show that sort of highlights what the opportunity is here. I recently bought a Mini, which is a lovely little car, and it comes with a gear change indicator. It's the first car I've ever had with a gear change indicator. And when I first started driving it, I focused very, very diligently on using the gear change indicator and driving the most economical way I possibly could. I achieved a 20% improvement in my fuel economy when using that gear change indicator. And that's quite an interesting statistic, because that is very well aligned with a number of our customers' exercises and tests on how they could reduce their fuel consumption. And this is a chart. It's quite a complicated chart, but what it summarizes is the impact of training a driver on how to drive his truck. We used three drivers in this exercise, trained each of them over the same route. This was about a 90-mile route, collecting milk from the farms in Scotland. This is with Wiseman's Dairies. The average improvement in fuel economy was 19%, which is quite well aligned with my 20% improvement in my Mini. But it's all about the focus that you have as a driver on the way that you drive a vehicle. Talking about the statistics and the aspirations that John mentioned at the beginning of this session, a 20%. If you're able to sustain a 20% improvement in your fuel economy, the number of miles driven on UK roads, not just by trucks but by vans, by our cars, we believe as a business is entirely achievable, and the investment we're making in technologies to help people achieve that hopefully will bear fruits in our organisation in the future. But what we're helping our customers at the moment, who run large HGV trucks, fleets of HGV trucks, is in specific programs to improve that fuel economy. All it is about understanding what's the best way of driving your vehicle, whether it's a truck that does 7, 8 or 9 miles per gallon, because that's all you get out of these big trucks, or whether it's your car that might be able to achieve 36 rather than 30 miles per gallon, or 50 miles per gallon rather than 42. And all of that is done by, in the case of a truck, best use of cruise control, not braking too hard, not accelerating too hard. The interesting statistic about the tests that were run in this case, shown in these tables, is that the time taken to do this same journey never varied by more than 2 minutes. And that's a 90-mile journey. So a truck driver who says, "Okay, Gov, yep, I'll take it easy on the truck, and I'll drive slowly for you to get better MPG, but I'm going to be late making my deliveries," that's rubbish. It's proven in many of our trials, not just in this one, that driving a vehicle, especially a truck, economically doesn't mean driving it slowly. It means driving it properly. And the two charts at the bottom just indicate the type of analysis that can be done on the way that a driver's driving his vehicle. We pick up about 32 different parameters from the vehicle as the driver's driving. Then when he gets back to the office to hand his keys back, we tell him what his fuel economy was and how his driving could be improved the next day. It's that continuous feedback loop. It doesn't have to be feedback like in the case of my Mini, where it tells me to change the gear. In a professional driver, you should be able to learn quite simply about how to improve on a daily basis without that real-time feedback. Interestingly, in this case, this is Wiseman Dairies, it's much more about cultural shift than anything else. It's about teaching the driver that it's important to reduce his fuel consumption, to improve the CO2 emissions and save the company money. The mantra in Wiseman's for this program was save 1 MPG. And it was a program that's very, very successfully implemented. They beat their target of 1 MPG on these HGVs, and obviously got a fantastic payback on that program. But it's changed the culture of the way people think about the fuel that they're burning. And that, for anybody who runs fleets of vans or trucks, is a really important thing to get across. It's not having a large stick to beat the drivers up with. It's about just the way they think about the fuel. The second area, and I don't have any more charts, so we can turn that one off. The second area is around how to get more out of the miles that you're travelling. 23% of all food miles are travelled empty, so that's trucks, vans involved in the food supply chain are empty at any one given time. And another statistic, less relevant because it can be confusing, but it's an important one nevertheless, and that is only 50% of all deck space is utilised. That means that over 40% of the vehicles that are filled are actually inefficiently filled. The way that we're helping in that regard is collaboration between different parties. And David mentioned Nestlé and UB being two competitors who are collaborating. We aid that through visibility of each other's supply chains, such that a vehicle that's delivering produce into a supermarket distribution centre can act as if it was a supermarket's truck and make a delivery to a store, triggering all the same processes that are needed for a supermarket to make a delivery to their store. That means automated triggering of replenishment systems, automated measurement of delivery on time, for example. That sort of collaboration is really important in a world where you may have 6, 7, 8 highly competitive supermarkets who have their own ways of working and are finely tuned in the way they run their supply chains. That integration to make one truck look like another person's truck is an essential part of improving the efficiency of the transport. The final area, as I wrap up, is around the transition to electric vehicles, which is quite a big interest for us. One of the biggest issues of electric vehicles in the food supply chain and in the home delivery type operations where they're well suited is that electric vehicles, when they run out of charge, you can't just recharge them and plug them in when they're en route. We have systems that enable an alert process to work if the vehicle won't make its route, complete its journey, such that the vehicle can then divert. And that's one of the biggest areas of biggest issues of using electric vehicles for very high customer service environments. So we take that away by managing the discharge of the vehicle as it goes around. And those are just three areas that maybe we can talk about more in the open session. Thank you very much.